Welcome back to Network Africa. Now, according to a senior United Nations official, at least 50,000 people have been killed in South Sudan's 2-year civil war. That's 5 times the official number given by humanitarian agencies in the early months of the conflict. A political dispute between President Salva Kiir and his former deputy Riek Machar sparked the war back in December of 2013, which has reopened ethnic fault lines between Kiir's Dinka and Machar's Nuer people. After months of ineffective negotiations and failed ceasefires, both sides agreed in January to share positions in a transitional government, and last month President Kiir reappointed Riek Machar, that's his former post, to his former post as vice president. Thankfully, South Sudan is now making some progress, which you'll see in this next item here, as it's now become the newest member of the East African community. The decision was reached by regional leaders at the EAC's 17th Heads of State Summit in Arusha, Tanzania, just yesterday. South Sudan's admission to the East African community increases the common regional market to 6 nations with a total population of 162 million. Juba applied for EAC membership soon after gaining independence from neighboring Sudan back in 2011 upon being invited to join by the leaders of Kenya and Rwanda. Now, as I said earlier on, South Sudan now makes the East African community 6. There are 6 member states there. The first is Kenya, the second is Tanzania, the third is Uganda, the fourth is Burundi, the fifth is Rwanda, and the sixth and the latest is South Sudan. Now, what are the benefits of being a part of the East African community? Well, there are loads of benefits. First of all, the members have access to an African market of around 140 million people. The EAC also makes cross-border payments a lot easier. Being a member of the EAC, the group is also looking to, or the bloc is also looking to strengthen a single customs territory. There's also single visa issuing as a benefit. The EAC is also a top destination for private equity investors, and the EAC provides great potential for business growth and mitigated risk, and members also have access to the new East African Exchange, that's EAX. Let's talk about some bilateral relations now. It's a big day for Kenya and Tanzania, as the presidents of both nations have laid a foundation stone to revamp the road linking to the Tanzanian town of Arusha to the town of Voi in Kenya. As a result, the current 234-kilometer road will be widened to 4 tarmac lanes. The project is being funded by the African Development Bank, the Japanese government, and the East African Community Trading Bloc, which we just told you about. We understand the project is set to be finished come 2018. Joining us to tell us more about this new development between Kenya and Tanzania is lead consultant at Sovereign Insight, Mr. Vincent Kimisop. Mr. Kimisop, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Now, help us understand, why is this road link such a big deal? I mean, what's the significance? Because we know that the presidents are celebrating this.
Number one is you're aware that integration is meant to facilitate business, to facilitate free movement of goods, services, and people. This road has 2 major significance. Number one is that we had lackluster performance by the former president, Jakaya Kikwete. His actually lukewarm support for the integration process led to what we call the coalition of the willing, bringing together Kenya, Rwanda, and Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. So this is very significant because the new president is sending a signal that I am on board, I am supporting integration. Number 2 is that the road is actually going to make the travel or the mobility of goods from Mombasa to Bujumbura less by 400 kilometers. And as a result of that, that impacts on the cost of transport. That driver. And when you look at the theme of this meeting was a market-driven integration. Matching such a vision with action on the ground is what you can see the correlation between the two efforts. So it's a welcome effort, good for business and good for the EAC region.
I really appreciate the explanation about the significance, but knowing the significance, can it realistically be completed come 2018?
Looking at the partnership and the support, of course, you know, when the funding has been secured, the African Development Bank, it's also not a very expensive road. As you're aware, it is $12 million US, and the partners on board, the Japanese, the African Development Bank, and locally sourced resources. And then, as you're aware, Cynthia, political will makes a difference in the funding and completion of projects. So this has a very good political capital. Its dividends are clear, movement of people, goods and services. And as you're aware, these are the things that this part of the region requires so that the jobs that are so much desired in this region may be created.
Final question, and this has to do with the newest member of the East African community. Could you share with us the significance of South Sudan joining the EAC? I'm asking because Kenya is a member, and you obviously know the benefits attached to being an EAC member.
Cynthia, as you're aware, the international law works as a result of the principle of reciprocity.
Yes.
South Sudan has had major problems, governance, and I think even what the introductory that you provided, they got independence and thereafter went into war as sorry states. So the first thing that you see, this welcome gesture, is that they now get into the community of disciplined, democratic nations. So soft power will be applied. Okay. And therefore, they would want to behave well. So I think that's the political message that's being sent to South Sudan, a message of goodwill. And then number two is that, as you're aware, October 2 years ago, the people working in South Sudan from other countries were told to leave, both in government and non-governmental organization. The treaty obligations requires that South Sudan will be required to provide access to human resources, to mobility of goods and services. So you see, it's a strategic move by the partner countries. It is also a political message to South Sudan that put your house in order so that you can sit well in the community of nations.
Well, Mr. Vincent Kimisop, lead consultant in Sovereign Insight, thank you so much for joining us on Network Africa. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Still to come on Network Africa, ANC's chief whip takes a bow in South Africa, but just how much impact will his absence have on the ANC?